more missiles volley between Israel and Iran. Israel's military reporting a new salvo this Monday with loud explosions reported in Jerusalem and fires outside the coastal city of Haifa. And missiles also flying over Tel Aviv. Israel, meanwhile, fired a new wave of attacks towards Iran with oil refineries hit and, over the weekend, the intelligence chief of the Revolutionary Guards killed. Iranian authorities say that overall, over 220 people have been reported to have been killed there since last Friday. Watchdog groups, however, say they think many more than that were actually killed. Meanwhile, at least 18 people have now been killed in Israel since this conflict broke out. Well, for more insight on the situation there, we can cross now live to senior lecturer at Lund University, specialist in Middle Eastern Studies, Rouzbeh Parsi. Thanks so much for your time and joining us here on France 24 this Monday morning. I mean, the latest we're seeing is, well, no let-up in strikes from either side, but Israel looking to get somewhat of a pummelling this Monday. 5 deaths reported this Monday morning. Iran seeming to sail past Israeli defences. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the Israelis are quite good at defending their airspace, but I think we also have to recognize that the Iranians had more and have more than anyone wanted to admit to. And I think this is the difference between this exchange, which is basically a regular war, and the one that took place last year, is that this one is not about symbolic deterrence, it's not about showing your ability, it's about using your ability.
And what do you think Iran's strategy might be? It is managing to hit inside Israel to do damage, serious damage, to take lives. Do you think it's going to target civilian, military? How do you see our logistic sites? What's its strategy likely to be?
Well, it depends on which part of its arsenal it's using, because they have varying ability of accuracy. But I think at the moment it's more about showing that Iran can still hit back, and that it will hit back no matter the danger of the United States being involved as well, which is what the Israelis would want. So I think at the moment it's just about for the Iranians to show that despite the fact that Israel has managed to kill so many of its senior military officials, it still has the operational capacity to continue waging this war.
Indeed, as you say there, Israel has killed a lot of Iran's senior military figures. Does that not show a real weak spot for Iran?
Absolutely. I mean, this is it's unbelievably embarrassing, if you will, for the Iranians. But on the other hand, the whole point of a military is that each piece of the puzzle is replaceable. This is an institution. So there is redundancy built into the system. That's the whole point of it. Now, that doesn't mean that the next generation of commanders are as capable as the old ones necessarily, but it does mean that the organization is still capable of wielding its power.
Now, Israel on Friday said that it was launching its attacks because of Iran's nuclear program. It said it's not looking for regime change, but that could happen. Do you expect that could be on the cards?
Well, I think, to be quite honest, it's not clear if the Israelis actually have much of a strategy. Tactically, they're obviously unsurpassable, but whether there is an actual strategy remains an open question, because they have not just struck the nuclear negotiation team or the nuclear facilities. And in the end, the political solution is either a negotiation or a removal of the Islamic Republic. And obviously, the Israelis don't want negotiations, because otherwise they would not have attacked at this point. And they cannot, on their own, facilitate a regime change. For that, they will need to get the Americans dragged in.
And when we hear reports in the United States, that the White House deterred Israel from targeting Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, I mean, do you think Israel would go that far, would dare to do that? And I mean, the impact that would have?
Well, I mean, the irony, if you want to use that word, is that Ali Khamenei, through his indecision and through his supposed fatwa against nuclear weapons, has been one of the factors in Iran for not developing nuclear weapons. So if he is removed, I think it's quite clear that they will definitely go for a nuclear weapon. So if the Israelis do that, it is really, on the one hand, to destroy all chances of negotiations. On the other hand, guaranteeing probably that Iran will go nuclear.
And where is Iran when it comes to its nuclear production? I mean, we heard from the UN watchdog that it wasn't in compliance last week with its obligations. I mean, where is it, and where might this conflict indeed lead it to?
Well, if you cut through the noise, you will see that what the Americans themselves said just a couple of months ago, and what the IAEA is saying, is that, yes, there was something that looked like the beginnings of a weapons program back in 2003 and before, which then was more or less fully shut down. So in that sense, there's a consistency in that the Iranians have not taken the decision to go nuclear. They have more nuclear fissile material than they need, and at a degree of enrichment that they don't need for civilian purposes, definitely. But they had not decided to go for a nuclear weapon. So in that sense, the Israeli line that this was an imminent threat doesn't really add up. But of course, once this is over, if it is over anytime soon, I'm pretty sure that whoever is left in Tehran is definitely going to go for the decision to get a nuclear weapon.
And if this nuclear question wasn't Israel's main motivation, what do you think might it be? Was it to distract from other front lines?
There is that, but I think for Bibi Netanyahu and obviously for many in the Israeli leadership, Iran is a strategic threat. That's no question about that. And they are, to some degree, a strategic threat. But the fact that the attack happens now probably has more to do with the fact that Trump and Iran was trying to negotiate. They weren't getting that far yet, but the very danger of a settlement was something I think that Netanyahu wanted to stop. And in many ways, he has.
And in the shorter medium term, I mean, we're looking at Iraq there, and I mean, there's Israeli fighter jets flying over their airspace. There's Iranian drones being shot down. The US has thousands of troops, hundreds of troops in Iraq. I mean, what role do you think Iraq might be forced to play? It's currently trying to talk to both sides, I believe.
Well, it depends on what happens in the next couple of days and weeks. That is this going to just continue like now? Is it going to get worse? So far, the Iranians have not done what they often threatened, which is to drag the Americans in immediately because they don't really see a difference between Israel and the United States. But it seems that they understand that as long as they can keep the Americans out, this is just, within quotation marks, a war between them and Israel. And that is much more manageable for Iran than if the United States gets immediately and directly involved.
And if the US gets involved, does the Iran have support from outside as well that will come to its side?
No. So this is obviously a very important difference. Not only is the Israeli military very much superior to the Iranian one, Israel has a lot of support from Europe, from the United States. The regional powers did not want this war. So in that sense, they're not on anyone's side, but they're not going to rush to Iran's side if the United States gets involved. And if the United States gets involved, then we're talking ramifications of a totally different kind, because the United States could actually destroy the Islamic Republic. And that begs the question which most of these wars never answer beforehand and never manage to explain afterwards, which is what is going to replace the Islamic Republic.
Indeed, the big question. Mr. Rouzbeh Parsi, thanks so much for your time and joining us here on France 24 this morning. Very much appreciated.